Hi, my name is Justin, aka Ghost Reader, and today I am going to be talking about changes to my TBR in 2019. So, if you are a new subscriber, if you may have subscribed like probably from like November to December, you may not be familiar with my usual TBR format. So, basically, last year, basically what I did for most of the time I was reading, most of the months, I had one fiction, one nonfiction, one graphic novel, one poem or play, and that kind of the last section kind of evolved. Sometimes it was just it was like I think in the beginning it was like whatever I wanted to read, and then that evolved into specifically being plays and poems. So this year I am going to be changing that up a little bit, and I'm going to be adding some stuff, taking some stuff out, and kind of doing something a bit different this year. So first, the fiction and nonfiction sections of my TBR are going to stay. They are. I'm not going to change those sections. I will still be reading one fiction book from any genre, one nonfiction book. I am going to try to make the nonfiction book this year be not always a book of history. I think for the most part, most of my nonfiction reads last year were history books. I think I'm going to incorporate some biographies or memoirs or sciences into my nonfiction TBR this year. What I am going to take out, I'm going to take out my graphic novel reads. Now, that doesn't mean I won't be reading graphic novels. It just means that it won't be part of my official TBR. So, as for example, when Monstrous comes out with Volume 4, I'll definitely be picking it up and reading it. It just won't be part of my official TBR. I just kind of read that in my spare time when I get around to it. And there is no reason why I'm removing like the graphic novels. Like, nothing against graphic novels, I still love them, I'm still rereading them. But what I am going to do instead is that I'm going to replace graphic novels with actually single issues of comic books. And for what I'm going to do is I have a whole stack of comic books that pay homage to hip hop cover art albums. So basically, on each cover, basically is, of these comics is a homage to a very popular hip hop album that came out in the 90s or early 2000s. Well, actually the 90s and 2000s. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to be basically reading one of those comics a week because I haven't read a lot of them. And I am going to listen to the album associated with that cover art. So, and you'll see what I mean when I actually do like a actual TBR. My January TBR will be coming out soon. So stay tuned for that. So I'm not going to review the album. I'll just say I liked it, didn't like it. And about the comics themselves, I'm not sure what I'm going to do. If I'm going to talk about them like I would any other book on my TBR, or I may make a separate video for them, like talking about the characters in the book. I'm not exactly sure where that's going to go, but I kind of want to read those comic books because it's about maybe 75 of them so far, and I just kind of haven't read them, and so this will give me a chance to get through them. So that's what I'm going to be doing, replacing my graphic novel with those single issue comic books. I also am going to be adding short stories. So last year I read short stories by great African American authors, but other than that, I didn't read any other short stories. So this year I picked one book, and that one book I'll be reading all the short stories out of that one book. Basically, it comes out to about 2 short stories a month. So basically, I'll be reading 2 short stories from that book a month, and you'll find out what that book is in my January TBR. So far I've added 4 single issue comic books, average of 4 to 5 single comic books a month, and also 2 short stories a month. And for my play poem section, I am still going to be reading plays, no poems but plays, and they're all going to be Shakespeare plays. So I'm basically going to read one Shakespeare play a month until September, in which I'll actually read 4 for ShakeTube. I read some Shakespeare plays last year for ShakeTube, and it got me really interested in Shakespeare. So I'm going to be reading this year Shakespeare's plays. Next year, if I still want to read plays, I will be doing a different playwright, or it may be actually be poetry, and I'll be doing poetry, like poems by a particular poet. So this year is going to be all all Shakespeare. So it should be quite interesting because I haven't read much from Shakespeare. I mean, Romeo and Juliet. I read Hamlet at some point in the past, Macbeth, but not much. But reading Titus Andronicus last year and Coriolanus, they were really good plays, and I kind of want to read a little bit more of the comedies and histories of Shakespeare. And I'm still keeping my quarterly reads, so I will still be reading a book every quarter. So basically, last year I had 4. I have another 4 books ready to go for the quarter, so I'm keeping that. That will be the same. But I will be adding yearly reads. So basically, these will be books that I read over the course of the year. So basically, I'm going to take the whole year to read these. And of course, they are monsters of a book. And I will also reveal what those books are in my January TBR. So for my yearly reads, I have 1 physical book, so basically one that I'm going to be reading physically, and then 1 will also be an audiobook. So I have 2 yearly reads. So basically any month will look like this. My TBR will be 1 fiction, 1 nonfiction, 4 single comics, 2 short stories, a Shakespeare play, whatever quarterly read I'm reading, and the 2 yearly reads that I have. So that looks a lot of reading. I just kind of want to challenge myself to do some reading. I have a lot of books that I haven't read, so this is giving me some chance to put a dent in it. I don't have like a TBR list, like people have a list of books that they have but haven't read. I basically don't have a problem with having a large TBR list because I don't have a TBR list technically because I don't keep track of that. So, but I do have a lot of books that I haven't read, and I kind of want to get through them. So I will be doing that. But also, and I almost forgot, I also will be adding another book into this mix. Another type of read every month, and that's going to be a genre read. So what I'm doing going forward is that every year I'm going to pick a particular genre to read books from, and every month I will read a book from that genre. So this year is going to be young adult, new adult fiction, probably mostly new adult. I haven't really read anything from the genre really. The only book that I've read was Love, Hate, and Other Filters last year, and I started reading The Hate U Give. I will be actually starting that over in February. I will be reading that, actually buddy reading that with Jesse from Bow Ties and Books. So I will be also be reading a genre read every month. So basically, I'll be reading, fiction, nonfiction, Shakespeare play, quarterly reads, about 7 books a month, 2 short stories, and 4 single comics. So that's actually a lot of reading. I won't, if I don't get to finish a particular thing, I'll just push it off to the next month and just keep reading it. No really pressure. Just give me a list of just kind of like a roadmap of what I want to read. If I read it, great. If I don't, that's okay. Also, in my schedule, I've also set 2 months aside not to have a structured TBR. So in the month of May and November, I won't have a structured TBR for those months. That gives me a chance to get a breather and a break from having like a structured TBR reading. That way I can catch up on any reads that I haven't read and want to finish reading. And of course in November there's NaNoWriMo, and I'm not sure if I'm doing it again this year, but if I do, I don't want to have like a structured TBR that I have to worry about anyway. So those are changes to my TBR. If you're confused by this, that's fine. I'm sorry. You will see it in practical action when I post my January TBR, and you get to see all the books that I'm planning to read for the month of January, for the quarter, and also for the year. And before I go, I want to give a shout out to 3 people who kind of influenced the way that my TBR worked, especially when I first got onto BookTube. I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do with my TBR and how I was going to set it up, if I was going to have a format or not. But these 3 people kind of have influenced how it is set up. And the reason for that is because when I first joined BookTube, I wasn't sure like what was popular, like what people read, and I kind of wanted to be reading what everyone else was reading, but my interest didn't necessarily line up with what was necessarily popular. So I was kind of trying to think of what to do, and then I found these 3 people, and they kind of gave me the courage to go ahead and do what I want to do and read what I want to read. And so Those people are Natalie from Pages and Panels and Jena from Bibliofilth. These two ladies basically, they talked about comics on their channel, and they gave me the courage to talk about comic books on my channel and to basically include the graphic novel portion of my TBR. So I give credit to them for that. And also, I want to give a shout out to Triumphal Reads. He reads a lot of nonfiction and also fantasy, and it was basically, I got the inspiration for him to basically read a nonfiction book every month. And so these three people are definitely, go check out their content if you like comic books and manga. Definitely check out Natalie and Jenna's channels. They read also other books as well, so definitely check out their channels. And if you like nonfiction and fantasy, definitely check out Triumphal Reads channel. Justin from Triumphal Reads. We also share the same name. Go check him out because he does good quality content as well. And also want to say congratulations to him too. I'm not sure. I think I did on Twitter, but congratulations on the new addition to your family. So if you like this video, please hit the like button. If you want to see more videos from me, please subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at GhostReads28 and also on Goodreads. Link to that is down in the description box below. So as always, keep reading.